I still remember the exact moment my world shifted. Not dramatically, like in the movies, but quietly, almost politely. It was a Tuesday morning, just after 9 a.m., and I was making coffee. My wife, Laura, was upstairs getting ready for her annual checkup. That's what she told me, anyway. The ironic part? I was feeling grateful that day. I'd just wrapped a major project at work, a logistics system redesign for a regional hospital chain, and I was finally able to take a few days off. We hadn't had much time together lately, and I wanted to use that week to reconnect. Laura and I had been married 9 years. No kids yet, though we'd talked about it. We were both in our mid-30s, me, a software engineer, her, a high school English teacher. Life was steady, predictable, safe, or so I thought. That afternoon, while she was still out, I noticed something weird when I went to grab my tablet off the kitchen counter. Her phone buzzed with a notification, and by sheer coincidence, it was facing up. I don't usually snoop, I'm not that guy, but the preview read, Dr. Keating. Can't stop thinking about last night. You're incredible. My stomach tightened. Dr. Aaron Keating, our family doctor. He'd been our doctor for the last 4 years. I trusted him. He'd even helped me through a nasty bout of pneumonia 2 winters ago. He came to our house once when Laura sprained her ankle playing tennis. He sent us a wedding card on our anniversary. And now, this? At first, I told myself there had to be a mistake. Maybe someone used his name by accident. Maybe it was spam. But I opened her phone. Yeah, I opened it. I wish I could say I regret it. But I don't. The message was part of a thread. And that thread was explicit, intimate. They weren't just sleeping together. They were emotionally involved. They had jokes, code words. There was one message where he told her, I hate how good he is to you. He doesn't deserve you. That hit me hard. I sat at the kitchen table for a long time, just staring at the floor, like something would explain itself if I waited long enough. Eventually, I got up. I opened my laptop and started documenting everything. Screenshots, notes, time stamps. I didn't know what I was going to do with it yet. I just knew I needed a record. And then I started thinking, how long had this been going on? That's when the memories started clicking into place. Last December, Laura suddenly became more interested in her appearance. New clothes, new perfume. She said she was reclaiming her confidence as she approached 35. I believed her. She started working out again. First it was at home. Then she joined a gym. Then the gym changed to a wellness clinic. Guess who ran the clinic's in-house health program? Dr. Keating. I started keeping track of her appointments. I wasn't even trying to catch her in anything, I just wanted to understand. And that's when things really started to unravel. That night, I couldn't sleep. I laid next to her, staring at the ceiling while she snored softly, peacefully. Like nothing was wrong, like she wasn't lying to my face every single day. I turned to look at her. Laura's back was to me, just like it had been for the last few months. I thought it was just life weighing on us. Work, bills, maybe she was tired. Now I knew better. That week, I started noticing the little things I had ignored before. On Wednesday, she said she was going in for a vitamin IV drip at Dr. Keating's clinic. She'd never mentioned needing one before. She left around 5 p.m. and didn't come back until nearly 9. I asked how it went, and she just smiled and said, I feel energized. It was worth it. That smile, it wasn't for me. So, I decided to act, not out of revenge. Not yet. I just needed truth. Something solid. Something undeniable. And if I was going to confront her, or leave her, I needed to know everything. The next morning, I installed a simple GPS tracking app on her car. I'd read about it on a forum. Totally legal since we shared the car. Then I went back through our credit card statements. I wasn't looking for anything big, just patterns. It didn't take long. There were recurring charges at a small boutique hotel on the east side of town. Not a luxury place. More discreet. Always paid with her separate credit card. I'd never noticed because we split certain bills and didn't really cross-check much. That was trust, right? 3 stays over the past 2 months. All on days she said she had extended work meetings or faculty training. I couldn't ignore it anymore. Something in me flipped that day. Not rage, not sadness, just a quiet determination. So I went deeper. I remembered that Dr. Keating ran a small wellness podcast. He talked about nutrition, stress relief, all that lifestyle stuff. But when I checked his professional page, I found something interesting. Laura had left a glowing review on his website. Nothing unusual at first glance. But she'd signed it, LR, not her full name. Then I saw the date. February 14th, Valentine's Day. We hadn't done anything that night because she told me she had a migraine. Said she needed to sleep early. I spent the evening watching Netflix and eating leftovers. Meanwhile, she was writing love letters in review sections. That's when I decided I wasn't going to just confront her. I was going to collect, track, wait, let it build. See, I've always been the quiet one in the relationship. The stable one. But I also write code for a living. My mind is wired for systems, patterns, logic, structure. I don't panic. I build things. So I started building something she'd never see coming. I spent the next few days gathering data like it was a second job. Every time Laura left for a clinic visit or school committee meeting, I tracked her location through the GPS I'd installed. She always ended up one of three places: the clinic, the boutique hotel, or his personal townhouse downtown. Yeah, I found that, too. It took me about 10 minutes of online digging. He wasn't exactly low profile. Dr. Aaron Keating liked to brand himself as progressive, holistic, and community-focused. His social media was full of smiling photos, giving TED-style talks, jogging charity 5 kiloseconds, shaking hands with patients like some kind of celebrity. What a joke. I started calling him Dr. Feelgood in my notes. But honestly, I wasn't laughing. I couldn't help but replay conversations in my head, times Laura told me she had a gut feeling about something, or warned me to trust my intuition. The hypocrisy was staggering, but I wasn't going to explode. That's what guys like him expect: loud confrontations, drama, the wounded husband storming in with accusations. I wasn't giving him or her that. No, I wanted control. So I started my own version of therapy. I called an old friend of mine, Casey, a tech-savvy private investigator I'd met during a cybersecurity contract years ago. He owed me a favor. I asked him, if you were trying to get digital dirt on a doctor, ethically gray, maybe legal, maybe not, how would you start? There was a long pause. Then he asked, you want proof, or leverage? I said, what's the difference? Casey laughed. One ends a marriage, the other rewrites how it ends. I told him I wanted both. He walked me through a few basics. Scrub metadata from photos, record my own devices only, never hack, but monitor. He suggested a sound amplifier I could tuck into a coat pocket or under furniture. Legal in our state, so long as it was my house. That weekend, while Laura was volunteering at a wellness fair, I carefully placed a recorder in our guest room. Not because I thought she was bringing him here, but because it sat directly below our bedroom. If they ever FaceTimed up there, if he ever called, even once, I'd catch it. She came home late that night, hair damp, eyes glowing, said she was exhausted, said her feet were sore from standing all day. I just nodded, told her she looked beautiful. That's the part one didn't expect, how good I got at pretending. But here's the thing. When someone cheats, they get comfortable fast. They forget to hide the details. And that next morning, she left her laptop open while she was in the shower. It auto-logged into her email. I know, I shouldn't have looked. But curiosity doesn't ask for permission. It just moves your fingers. There were 2 unread emails from a private clinic, one in upstate Vermont. The subject line? Fertility consultation. Confirmation for Laura Reynolds and Dr. Aaron Keating. And just like that, everything went still. Fertility? We hadn't even talked about having kids in almost 2 years. We tried once. Nothing happened. And she told me she'd made peace with it. Said we were enough. Said I was enough. But that was a lie, too. And now, they were planning, what? A child? A life? That was the moment it became personal. No longer just betrayal, it was a replacement. She wasn't just cheating, she was planning a future without me. And that's when the idea for my revenge finally took shape. It would be slow, it would be quiet, and it would leave her wondering, not just what I knew, but when I knew it. I didn't eat much that day. I just sat in the garage, staring at my hands. They didn't look like the hands of a man someone would leave. Not perfect, but strong. Steady. The kind of hands that built shelves for her classroom and fixed the water heater when it broke on Christmas Eve. Hands she used to hold without thinking. Now she was using them as placeholders. Until Keating was ready. Until her new life was ready. I kept hearing the email in my head. Fertility consultation. Not just an affair. Not a fling. This was about replacing me. A child with him would bind them. Erase me. Rewrite our history as some temporary chapter in her story. And I realized something cruelly poetic. She wanted to keep me as the safe option. See, Laura never asked for a divorce. Never hinted at separating. I wasn't supposed to find out. She was going to keep me around just long enough to make the transition painless for herself. Emotionally, financially, socially, until she was sure, and I'd just fade out. No, she'd made her moves in the dark. Now it was my turn. I didn't rage, didn't confront her. Instead, I booked a single appointment with an estate lawyer. It was time to revise my will. You see, Laura didn't know it yet, but I'd been promoted to head of product strategy last quarter. My base pay jumped, and along with that came a profit-sharing agreement and a generous life insurance policy. She was listed as my sole beneficiary. Not anymore. I revised every document, made my goddaughter the new beneficiary, set up a trust in her name, left instructions that, if anything happened to me, Laura wasn't to see a penny. Petty? Maybe, but if she wanted a life with another man, she wasn't going to build it on the financial foundation I laid. Not on the back of the man she betrayed. That weekend, she invited me out to brunch. She was smiling again, wearing lipstick she hadn't worn in months. I feel like we haven't connected in a while, she said over mimosas. I missed this. I looked her in the eye, nodded, and said, yeah. Me too. And here's the part one never expected. I meant it, not because I loved her in that moment, but because I realized how easy it was to lie to her now. How easy it was to look at her face and see a stranger. We talked about vacation plans. She suggested Vermont. I told her that sounded lovely. She had no idea I already knew why she loved Vermont. That night, I pulled the audio recorder from the guest room. Played it back. Sure enough, a 40-minute FaceTime call. From our bedroom, between her and Dr. Keating. His voice, clear as day. You think he suspects anything? Laura laughed. Not a chance. He still thinks I'm too tired from school stuff. Then she said something I'll never forget. The thing about him is, he trusts too easy. Always has. That's why I know I'll land on my feet. Even if he finds out, he won't make it ugly. And in that moment, I realized exactly what I had to do. I had to make it quiet. Not ugly, not loud, just devastating. I started pulling away without her noticing. Just slightly. I'd take longer drives after work. Stopped texting her during the day. I let her think I was slipping into a routine lull. She even commented one night, "You've been kind of distant lately, you okay?" I told her I was just tired. That part wasn't a lie. But the truth? I was tired of pretending to be the man she thought she had on a leash. And so I stopped being him. I started building two separate versions of my life. One for her. The same husband she thought she was manipulating. Reliable, predictable, still under her spell. And one for me, the man planning her collapse. I transferred our joint savings into a separate account under the guise of moving it into a better interest-yielding option. I showed her fake screenshots of account balances. She barely glanced. She didn't care about money yet. She was still playing house. Still enjoying the illusion of control. She had no idea the rug beneath her feet was slowly being pulled. Then came the clinic appointment. She said she had to travel to Vermont for a professional development seminar the following week. 3 days. Hotel provided. Meals covered. I acted impressed. Supportive. Told her, "You're always chasing growth. I admire that." She kissed me. Said I was such a good man. And I felt nothing. She flew out Thursday morning. I drove her to the airport. We held hands in the car. She played a podcast. It was some relationship therapist talking about emotional intimacy. I almost laughed. At the gate, she hugged me. Tight. Too tight. Like she knew something was slipping but couldn't name it. She said, "I'll call you tonight before bed." I nodded, and drove straight to Dr. Keating's clinic. See, what she didn't know was that Casey, the pie, had been doing some digging of his own. And he found something beautiful. Dr. Keating wasn't just a family physician. He was also part owner of the wellness investment firm that backed the Vermont clinic. And that firm? had recently been flagged for potential insurance fraud over some questionable billing practices. Casey handed me a flash drive. Patient reports, overprescribed hormone therapy, conflicts of interest, a few emails between Aaron and D, his business partner, that weren't technically illegal, but would look terrible to his medical board if ever reviewed. All of it packaged and ready. And on Friday morning, while Laura was playing house with her future soulmate, I emailed an anonymous tip to the Medical Ethics Committee in our state. Attached the files, used a throwaway address. Then I did the same to the Vermont State Medical Board. Why? Because if Aaron's name made it onto an official investigation list, even for a few months, it would ruin his shot at expanding his private practice. And if his practice couldn't expand, their future couldn't either. They wanted to build a new life. So I made sure it was built on sinking sand. When Laura called that night, I didn't answer. She left a voicemail, sounding confused. Hey, just checking in. I thought we were gonna talk tonight. Call me when you can? I waited 5 hours, then texted. Sorry, passed out early. Long day. Hope your seminar's going well. Love you. She replied instantly. Miss you. Can't wait to see you Sunday. I didn't respond. I just looked at the screen, wondering if she had any idea how fast her kingdom was about to fall. She thought I was a good man. She was about to learn just how dangerous a good man can become when he's done playing nice. Laura got back Sunday night. Hair curled, slight tan on her cheeks, big smile on her face like she'd just come back from a weekend spa, not a secret fertility consultation with her affair partner. I was making dinner when she walked in. She kissed my neck from behind like she used to. That was new. She said, "You look relaxed. Did you do anything fun while I was gone?" I shrugged. Just caught up on some reading. Laundry. Oh, and I finally cleaned out the garage. She laughed and said, I've been asking you to do that for months. I know, I said. Guess I've just been in the mood to reset things lately. I watched her that night. Not with anger, with curiosity. She was radiant, lighter than usual. She kept checking her phone, smiling at messages she didn't let me see. Probably from him. She was confident, because she thought she was in control. What she didn't know, Keating hadn't replied to her last 2 texts. The next morning, she was quieter. Distracted, kept glancing at her phone during breakfast. Then she got an email. I saw the preview flash on her lock screen before she snatched it up. Her smile cracked for the first time in weeks. Everything okay? I asked. She hesitated, then forced a smile. Just school stuff. Budget committees being annoying. Ah, I nodded. Same old, same old. She didn't talk much the rest of the day. By Wednesday, the silence was louder than ever. She stayed up late on her laptop. Kept starting texts, then deleting them. She didn't touch her wine. That was rare. She went to bed early and turned away from me. No, good night, no kiss. That's when I knew. Keating had pulled back. Maybe he sensed something. Maybe the ethics board reached out. Or maybe, the fantasy just started to feel real. I didn't care why. What mattered is that the foundation she'd been building her escape plan on was beginning to shake. That weekend, she asked me something strange. We were driving to a family friend's birthday dinner. She hadn't said 5 words the whole ride, and then out of nowhere she said, "Do you think people can make huge mistakes and still deserve a second chance?" I didn't look at her. I just kept my hands on the wheel and said, "Depends what they destroyed in the process." Silence. Then she said, "That's fair." The thing is, she wasn't really asking about morality. She was testing the water. She knew something was changing. She just didn't know what. The walls were closing in, and I hadn't raised my voice once. No fights, no accusations, no confrontations. That's what unnerved her most. Cheaters expect chaos. What they can't handle is calm. I started sleeping in the guest room after that. Told her I was having back pain from our mattress. That it was temporary. She didn't argue. She just nodded. She was too preoccupied trying to figure out why her dream life was crumbling. I'd already pulled our shared accounts, updated all the insurance policies, pre-drafted my divorce papers. All I was waiting for now was the final piece. One message, one mistake, one slip. Then I'd walk away, but not before showing her exactly what it feels like to be abandoned with a smile. 2 weeks. That's how long I waited. 2 weeks of pretending like everything was fine, like I didn't already have her lies archived, her voice recorded, and her future with Keating quietly dissolving behind the scenes. 2 weeks of distant smiles, awkward silences, and half-hearted attempts at affection that felt more like habit than love. And then it happened. The final slip. It was a Wednesday night. She was in the shower, and her phone lit up on the nightstand. I wasn't even trying to check it anymore, but old habits die hard. The message was from an unsaved number. "I'm sorry I pulled away. I've been dealing with a lot on my end. But I miss you. I miss us. Can we talk? Oh name. But I didn't need one. It was Keating. Laura was being reeled back in. And just like that, she was about to step fully back into the fantasy, thinking she could still have both worlds. That was all I needed. The next morning, I made her breakfast. French toast, fruit, coffee, her favorite. She came downstairs in her robe, surprised. "Wow, what's the occasion?" I smiled. "I just wanted to do something nice. You've had a lot on your plate." She looked almost guilty. Almost, but still smiled, kissed my cheek, sat down. We ate together, talked, laughed, even. Then I slid a small folder across the table. She looked at it, confused. "What's this?" "Just something I've been working on." She opened it, and froze. Inside were printed copies of the emails between her and Keating. Photos of her car parked outside his townhouse on nights she said she was grading papers. A screenshot of the fertility clinic appointment. A list of shared expenses and the divorce papers, already signed by me, with a note that read, "You don't need to explain. I already know. I'm just done." For a moment, she didn't move. Didn't breathe. Her hand trembled just slightly. Then she looked up at me, eyes wet. "How long have you known?" "Long enough to realize you never really stopped choosing him. Even when I was standing right in front of you." She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. I stood up. "You won't have to lie anymore, Laura. You're free." And then I walked out the front door. I didn't slam it. I didn't look back. I just left. Took the car I'd already registered solely under my name. Drove to the apartment I'd leased 2 weeks earlier. The one she didn't know about. Fully furnished. Quiet. Clean. Mine. Over the next few days, I kept it simple. Blocked her number. Let my lawyer handle the paperwork. Told mutual friends only one sentence: "We're separating. I wish her the best." No drama. No details. No mudslinging. But she knew. She knew I could have told everyone. She knew I could have burned her life down. But I didn't. And that's what haunts people like her the most. When you leave without screaming. When you walk away like they were never worth the explosion. A month later, I got a letter in the mail. It was from her. Handwritten. 4 pages. I only read the first line. I didn't know what I had until I saw it walk away. I folded it up. Didn't read the rest. Because by then, I had my peace. And she had to live with the one thing no apology could fix. The version of me she betrayed was the best man she'd ever get.